It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
What's up, everybody? This video is going to show you how to install a stepping stone paver pathway so you can take your yard from this to this. Let's get into the video. So for my stepping stone project, I wanted to connect my patio slab to my shed with the stone centered between both. So the first step there is I removed any humps in the dirt and also filled in any divots. And for my stepping stone project, I used 12-inch by 36-inch flagstone rectangular pavers, and I'm just confirming the dimensions right there. And what you're going to want to do is spend some time thinking about the overall layout and spacing for your pavers. What I'm doing here is I'm measuring the overall span. And then once I had that and I had the width of my pavers, you can grab your notebook and you can calculate the spacing between each paver and establish your overall stepping stone layout. So at this point, you're going to preliminarily place your pavers in place. What I did there is I centered it in front of the deck stairs, as you're seeing. And then once I calculated my spacing, I went and I took all my pavers and I preliminarily positioned them in place and confirmed the spacing was uniform between all of them. Then go ahead and mark the outline of each paver using spray paint. I just used some leftover spray paint I had laying around. Hopefully you have something similar and don't need to buy any. And as you can see here, I just repeated that process for all the pavers. After marking the perimeter of each paver, move them out of the way, and now we're going to excavate. Right here is a guide showing how we're going to have a gravel base, followed by a thin layer of leveling sand, and then the paver is going to go on top. Obviously, the depth you need to excavate is going to depend on the thickness of your paver, but here's a guide to help you plan. So at this point, I dug down around 4 inches, and I did this for the outline of every single paver. And what you're seeing now is I put in the first course of stone just to see how everything was looking for the first paver, and then I just repeated that process for all the rest. Again, that's excavating within the marked spray paint line, filling it with a little bit of stone, checking the level, and we're going to go into that in more detail in the next clip here. But again, it's excavating, stone, preliminary placement. After applying your stone to the excavation, use a hand tamp just to compact all the stone, making sure it's pretty even all the way across. Now, because the stone is jagged and hard to level, what we're going to apply is about 1/4 inch of leveling sand. And this is going to make it so much easier when we go to actually level our stepping stones. So apply about 1/4 inch layer and spread it around with your hands over top of the gravel that you applied previously. And once it's pretty uniform, you can go ahead and grab your hand tamp, and you're going to want to compact the sand exactly the same way as you did for the gravel base below. What I also found is if you apply a little bit of water to the sand, it compacts a little easier, and I'll demonstrate that in just a second. So once you have it level, go ahead and take your stepping stone and preliminarily place it on top of the sand. It's not going to be perfect at this point, but you're going to make adjustments in just a second. Be sure that you check the level both lengthwise and widthwise to make sure that the stepping stone is perfectly flat. So what I'm doing here is repeating the exact same process for the next stepping stone, that is compacting the gravel subbase and then applying a thin layer of leveling sand. Once I had the leveling sand installed, I used my hand just to smooth everything out and make sure that it was preliminarily level. And what I'm going to show you here is how I used a watering can to apply a little bit of moisture to the top layer of sand, because I found this really did help it to compact a lot better. So after compacting the sand layer, I grabbed my stepping stone and I preliminarily placed it on top of the leveling sand. As you can see, making some minor adjustments here before checking the spacing between each stepping stone, making sure that's uniform and adjusting as necessary. I'm double checking right there, and then what I'm going to do is move on to the other side of the stepping stone to make sure that we have a uniform gap. And then there, I'm just checking that it's uniform spacing between the first stepping stone and the concrete slab. So as you apply each stepping stone on top of the sand layer, you're going to go ahead and check the level both, again, lengthways and widthwise. And if it's not level, you're going to either add or remove some sand as needed to make adjustments and get your stepping stone perfectly flat. So in this case, I found that it wasn't level and that it needed more sand on the side nearest to me. So I added some sand there, and then I'm double checking that we are in good shape and perfectly flat. Once I confirmed that the width looked good, I flipped the level over and I checked the length level, and it looked to be a little bit off there. So what I had to do is, again, lift up the stepping stone, add a little bit of sand to make sure that we're perfectly level in both dimensions. And once I added that, I did a quick compaction with my feet, double checked both ways, and it looked good. Okay, so once you have the sand in there, What you're gonna do is take your level, and you just wanna make sure that you're level both in this direction, across it, and also you wanna be looking in good shape in that direction as well. So as you can imagine, this is pretty redundant for as many stepping stones as you have. There I am just adding a little bit of water for compaction, and then I did the same thing with the sand layer as I continued down with the stepping stone installation process. As you just saw, instead of checking level on just the stone, I also checked to make sure that each stepping stone was level with the next stepping stone, just so that it was level all the way across the walkway. Continue to make adjustments, add and remove sand as needed to make sure you have everything level. Continue to compact so you don't have settling over time. Always check the adjacent stepping stone with the next stone you're applying, and repeat this process for each stepping stone that's part of your pathway or walkway. And here I am finishing up the very last stepping stone in the installation process, just as I ran out of light. So once all of your stepping stones have been installed in place and you are happy with how level they are and their arrangement, then you want to go ahead and backfill around the sides of each stepping stone. As you backfill, make sure you compact pretty well to prevent the stones from moving over time. Here's a quick look at the progress so far and the first inaugural walk across the steps. And then I'm just going around and I'm going to continue to backfill both around the shed ramp that you're seeing there and also around each stepping stone, being sure to compact pretty well around each one just so that the stones wouldn't move in the future. So after backfilling around the shed ramp and each stepping stone, it was time to actually plant some grass. So I used this little Turf Builder Edge Guard Mini that I got from Home Depot, and because my application area is in the shade, I used a Sun and Shade Mix by Scott's. So I loaded all of the grass seed into my spreader, and then I applied grass seed to the entire application area and also around my entire yard. Here's a look at the progress after 2 weeks after a lot of watering. And as you can see, I had to trench on the right side of my shed to install some electrical, so I had to go back and plant more grass seed, which was a little bit of a pain, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So again, I'm just applying the grass seed with a spreader, and then I used a rake just to rake in the grass seed into the soil. And then after a lot of watering and a lot of patience, here is a look at the final stepping stone result. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below and consider subscribing if you like DIY content like this. If you want to see how I renovated the entire backyard, I'll leave a link to that time-lapse video right there. And if not, that's fine. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.